you mind if I move the little angel over? See the wrapping from the balled and burlap when this was planted? You want to cut that off of there and make sure it's under the ground. Okay. And what can happen is as it dries out, the wind blows across it, it dries out, it can act like a wick, and it'll pull the water right out of the soil and dry out the tree's root ball. The other thing you want to do is you want to cut it off of there. Do you mind if I do it?
No, not at all. Thank you.
You want to be able to see that flare on that trunk. Remember how Denny showed us on that big trunk how it flared at the bottom?
Right.
It comes out. You want to see that because if the tree was planted here and it was straight into the ground, that means it's planted too deep. You want to see that trunk flared. And sometimes when you buy a tree from a nursery, when they dug it up with the root ball, the soil gets piled up around the trunk.
I did not know there was that much in there.
And you know, and so you actually have to dig some of it away from the tree because the bark is like our skin. It's the first defense a tree has against attack from diseases and bugs. So the bark wants to stay hard and dry. So this is like if you had a cut and you left a Band-Aid on your finger too long and your skin gets all soggy and moist. The same thing will happen to the tree's bark. See how wet it is? And like bugs will grow in here, and animals can burrow under the bark and burrow under the mulch and chew on it. So you want to keep the mulch and the soil like 2 inches away from the trunk. Okay. So we can't. It doesn't have a good flare on this side, but you can start to see now the flare on this side. See how it's widening out? Yeah. And so from now on, when you mulch this. Oh my gosh, I got mulch on the angel's wings.
So this is like 7 months or 8 months.
Yeah.
So whenever you mulch this tree from now on, you want to keep the mulch just away from it a little bit, and then keep it back here like this. And like here's baby trees coming up.
We always tell the students, you want to mulch it like a donut, not a volcano.
Yeah, so you make like a hole in the donut. You don't pile it up like a volcano.
Yeah.
So there's that burlap.
Everybody does
that's okay. I'll get that
cool.
later.
And then that'll really help them. And then what you want to do for this guy, you guys want a pruning lesson while we're here?
Yes.
Anytime, the way to prune a tree is most of the time when a little branch is coming off a trunk, you can see these little tiny wrinkles. These little tiny wrinkles are actually a special type of tissue so that if we were to cut this branch off, those wrinkles grow over that wound and seal it shut. Trees can't actually heal from their wounds. The damage from that branch being cut is always going to be there, but they seal it over. So just like if we have a cut, you seal it over. So like for example, I wanted to tell you why it's important to cut the dead wood off. This branch here died. So right now it's a dead branch and it'll start to break like little by little. But the whole time this branch is dead and gets broken spots, again, those are open areas where it can be attacked from diseases and bugs. So if we come back and snip this dead branch off, then it can seal over faster and seal that wound shut. Because it can take 2 to 3 years for a branch to die and fall off. And so, do you mind if I do that?
No, not at all.
So the other thing is once you get those wrinkles lined up, what people tend to do is they tend to make a cut out here like this. But then you have this little stub. And again, what's at the end of the stub? An open wound. So what you want to do is you want to get in as close to the wrinkles as you can, but not cut them off. And then if you cut too deep and cut the wrinkles off, there'll always be a hole there that never heals. And you'll see the dried up like inner tissue. But if we get it just in front of those wrinkles, they can grow over and then seal that wound off.
So that's the wrinkle right there?
See this rougher skin?
Yeah.
It's easier to see on the trunk. So like this branch is also dead. Do you mind if I take that one off?
No.
So again, you come in here.
That's what I want to learn.
And so the other thing to do is keep your sharp blade. Okay, let's have a tool lesson. These are bypass pruners. The reason they're called that is because the blades pass each other. See how one blade goes past the other? You guys see that? Mm-hmm. They're for live wood. They shear off the branch. Anvil pruners, the blades hit each other. They chop together. They're for removing dead wood. And you can use bypass pruners to cut off dead wood. It just can dull your blade faster. But you never want to use those chopping anvil pruners to trim live branches. And that's because it squeezes the branch. And so as it's squeezing the branch, it might squeeze those little wrinkles, and then they won't be able to heal over that wound like you damage them. So you always want to use a bypass pruner. And so again, so then one side's your cutting blade and one side isn't. You always want your cutting blade against the branch that's staying. So if I put it upside down, I'm automatically going to have a 1/4 inch stub. See how there's a 1/4 inch there? But when I put the sharp blade down, it cuts it right where it's supposed to be. And so again, and then the other thing to try to remember, I know I'm telling you guys too much stuff, is when people make a cut, they tend to come in like perpendicular. Like I said, the most common thing is for people to cut that off and leave a stub. And you know it was dead because you can see the inner brown circle. I'll show you in a second.
Now, what about direction?
See how there's a darker circle in the center?
Oh, yeah.
That's a sign the branch was dead and dying.
Now, what about directional? Like if you want a branch to go a certain way, or
Okay, I'll show you that next. Let me finish cutting off the stub. So people tend to just cut it. What you want to do is you want to focus on what's staying, not what you're cutting off. So this is the trunk that's staying, so we want our tool to be parallel to the trunk that's staying, not at a cockeyed angle. But this is angled a little bit here because it's halfway between the trunk and the branch. So you still want to get in there and make that cut the best you can.
wow,
And then those wrinkles can grow over and seal that wound shut. So for example, okay, let's do a directional cut next. So let's pretend these branches, okay, here's one here. This branch is growing backwards toward the center of the tree. So you want your branches to grow out so they get lots of sun, right? And if it grows inward, it's going to grow in and could cross and rub against some of these other branches and create wounds. So you would just come back to where it attaches and cut it off there. So, and a directional prune is kind of the same way. So if this was the end of our branch and you wanted it to grow this way, you'd cut this one off. But if you want it to grow this way, you cut this one off. You know what I mean? You just leave the one you want to grow and cut off the other ones. So if you wanted this one's growing up, you would leave it. But if you wanted this one to grow down, you'd cut that one off. But I cut it off because it was dead. So like some of these, you know, it just needs a little trimming because it was winter. But it looks really good for this winter. There's only a few things, except it has, looks like it has woolly aphids. So if you love your tree, you might want to get it treated.
okay,
See those little, they look like
White.
cottony?
uh-huh.
It's some kind of an aphid. It might not be woolly aphid, but there's a
Okay.
lot of different kinds of aphids. Denny, do you know your bugs?
Yep. Well,
Let
yes and
Denny
no.
look at it.
Now, when you say get it treated, would I just go to someplace and buy something for that particular
Oh, yeah,
and
okay.
spray it?
You can.
Yeah, these are, well, they're aphids, which just kind of suck the juices out of the tree.
Yeah, and there's not a lot, so it might be fine.
there
But
are-
if it gets covered in it, it can
Yeah.
make the tree sick. I don't know. What do you
Oh,
think
yeah,
about it?
well, it's a combination of things, a lot of things happen, you know. What happens with the aphids is that when they excrete, there's a sugar in this, and then that turns black, you know.
Oh, it gets like a fungal infection.
Yeah, actually, ants have I've done trees before where there were just ants all over, and what they were doing is they were taking eggs of aphids and taking them up into the tree and leaving them there. Then the aphids feed, and they excrete the sugar, then the ants get the sugar, and that's their feed.
Yeah,
Their
ants
food.
can be little aphid farmers.
Yeah, little aphid farmers, right.
It's really weird.
Generally speaking, what you want to do, what I do, is use horticultural oil, or what they call dormant oil.
Oh, and it
It's an
smothers
oil.
them?
It's an oil. It's a non-chemical thing, and you can spray it, and you can do it at any time of the year, actually multiple times during the years, you know. And that just covers them over, and then they can't breathe, and they die. It doesn't hurt the tree at all,
Okay,
as opposed to a chemical spray. Which,
See how this little branch is growing up and rubbing here against these
Yeah.
two branches? That'll create wounds, and again, bugs can get in there. So you just want to come in here and cut that off. And so, and I flip my blade upside down to keep my sharp blade next to the tree.
Always the sharp blade up to the tree.
Or the branch that's staying. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Sure,
You
so
like to prune like what I was. This is a very young thing, but like
Yes.
what I might want to, if I wanted to do it. See how this is going up?
Right.
See, I wanted this tree to go out a little bit. I might make a directional cut, like right there.
Uh-huh.
then it won't go
Then,
up anymore. It'll
then
grow
that,
sideways.
that'll be gone, and then this leaf will come out and
Okay.
start to go like that.
The one you leave will be the new leader. That's how
Yeah.
you do directional pruning.
The one you leave will be
Yeah.
the,
So you
Right.
save the one where the way you want the branch to grow
Okay.
and cut off the other one. But you still want to come back in and cut it next to another branch.